Hello, viewers. Our today topic is an interesting topic, especially for literature students. You can see Plato criticism of poets and poetry. So, if you are a student of literature, then you must know about Plato. Okay, so this is very important topic in the study of criticism. You know about Plato. Plato is one of the eminent and renowned philosophers all over the world. There might be no manipulator who may not know Plato. Similarly, there may be no university of the world that will not teach Plato at its course. The birth, and work of Plato. Plato's contribution to literature and politics knows no bound, but its famous work is his book, which is very famous all over the world, named The Republic. In the book, he has set some ideal rules for his ideal state, but he has expelled the poets from his book. It means Republic. In this study, we will discuss his argument against poetry and poets, his arguments based on induction, theology, and morality, and also metaphysics. So let's start. So this topic is included in your criticism paper. Okay. So this is very difficult but very interesting. So you should watch from the beginning till the end. Then this video will cover your question. Also for your assignment very important. So you will learn so many things, so many new things about Plato and his philosophy. So let's start. Plato was the student of Socrates and the teacher of Aristotle. He was great, perhaps the greatest philosopher of the world. He was a poet among many philosophers. Not only had he the sensibility of poet, but he also wrote his philosophy in poetic manner. Literature deals not with that has been or is but what might be or ought to be. This is very important. Okay. If we talk of what might be or ought to be, then we are poets. What Plato described never happened. He was not writing what had been. He was creating out of his imagination. And so he was a poet among philosophers. So basically, Plato is an idealist and he is against realism. Okay, so it means he favors idealism. No, basically he is a philosopher, but the irony of irony is that this poet and philosopher was the enemy of poet and poetry, not only a bad poet but also of all. He condemned poetry and poets. So in this video you will understand, you will learn the facts and the argument. He considered poetry to be harmful. He confessed that some of the happiest moments of his life have been spent with the book of Homer, but Homer, according to him, was an enemy of truth. Plato definition defined art as imitation. This is very important. The word which Aristotle took from him. Aristotle took from him. He says that poetry is an imperfect imitation of imitation, twice removed from reality, or word of shadow and falsehood. You can see the lines. These are very important lines highlighted in red. Okay, you should try to understand. This is his view of poetry and art. He gives a number of arguments. They are metaphysical, ethical, and inductive. So these are very important. Okay. So in this video we have four arguments, and we will teach you one by one. The first argument he gives is on metaphysical ground. He says that only idea is real and the world of nature is an imperfect copy of the world of idea. This is very important. He says that poets are slavish, copious. This world is copious of the word of thing. The word is a word of thing. All that are perceived through our senses are things. What does an artist do? He imitates the thing of this world. So, according to him, the poet and the painter, they are imitator. Okay, they only imitate things. For example, a painter paints thing. He draws a portrait. It is an imperfect copy which falls short of the thing. So, according to him, this is it mean painting is copying. A poet does the same thing through words, and so does a novelist. Poetry is conceived with word picture. Picture, whether they are painted or word picture, are imperfect copies. Poet gives us an imperfect copy of an imperfect copy. So they go distant from reality. If the poet gives an exact copy of a thing, it is still imperfect. Why? So this this is argument, and you can understand. Then you can see why. Because things have freshness and beauty which life gives to them, but the copy doesn't have that freshness and beauty. Things have a purpose of us and us for us. For example, trees have a use and a purpose, but the copy of trees has no use. This is correct. The men and women we find in sculpture are the imperfect copies. They fall very short of true men and women of this world. So this is very good argument. The word of things and not the word of art and poetry is itself not real. The word is an imperfect copy of idea. The thing which we see our idea of, with we see our eyes are perceived through our own senses. Animal, trees, people, etc. are in process of change. They are in flux. They are and are not at the same time. Some changes fall quickly while others are very meant. For example, we see a flower in the morning and then see in the evening with a change. We met a friend after 6 years who appeared to us a changement. So, a thing which is always in flux cannot be real. A thing which is today and is not tomorrow can't be real. So, this is very important, and this is his view of poetry and his view of imitation. So, this is his idea. So, he support idea, not existence. No, if things are unreal, then what is real? If we are unreal, what can be real? Plato says that idea is real. So this is very important. Idea is real. We can't see idea. We can come to know about idea about the existence of thing through reason. Reason is very important to Plato. Senses are not perfect, but reason tell us what is real and what is not real. It tell us what idea is. We see that things come and go, but the idea is always there. For example, the idea of man is also there. It doesn't contain anything particular. To him, idea is perfect, permanent. The idea of a horse cannot be black because all horses are not black. The idea of man can't be stout because all men are not stout. This is very good argument. So idea is that which is common to all. So according to him, idea must be common to all. It is the essence of thing. We see trees and every tree is different from every other. Okay, yet we call them trees. So due to idea, because idea is common to the eyes, there is nothing common in them, but reason tell us to call them trees. Reason is very important to Plato. So the idea is real and it doesn't a process undergo a process of change. Thus the world of idea is real. So we can say that Plato is basically what? Plato is basically idealist. The things are unreal. They are the copies of ideas. Copies of our ideas. Every horror is a copy of the idea, an imperfect idea. Plato says the word of thing is once removed from reality, and since the artists copy this word of thing, therefore their word is twice removed from reality. This is very important point. Try to understand. This is his first argument regarding poetry and art. This is very difficult to understand. This is the theory of idea. So it was the first argument, and based on idea, or it maybe say that this is metaphysic, okay, metaphysical. The second one, you can see Plato's second argument is on moral ground. According to him, every human being has three aspects to his personality. Three aspects to personality. The first is cognition, which means the power of thinking, reasoning, the intellect of man. The second aspect, conation, which means the willpower to do and act, the urge in man, which makes him do something. It is the active side of man. The third aspect is affection. It means the feeling aspect of man, the emotional and sentimental aspect of man. Of these three aspects, Plato says the first is the highest. The first is the highest because it is the rational part of human personality. Next come the willpower, the lower than cognitive aspect. The lowest of all is affection and is the worst aspect of man's personality. This is important. Try to understand what part do they play in a good man. Who is morally a good man? According to him, a good man is he in whom reason governs. Reason very important too. Whose deeds are directed by reason. Reason must guide his willpower. If he disobey reason, then he is doing something bad. He will power the willpower should carry the order of reason. This is important. This is very important. He says the emotion and passion are evil and must be controlled. So if reason rules a man, then he is a good man. This is his picture of good man. But that man in whom emotion and passion dominate, who is creature of emotion, is a bad man. Is a bad man. Corresponding to this, this is his definition of a good state and bad state. All of us have reason, willpower, and emotion. But in some, reason is more powerful than other and call them philosophers. They are men of action and call them soldiers. Then there is a large number of people who are ruled by their passion and we call them businessmen, workers, traders, and farmers. The philosophers are the highest in the state. The soldiers come next, and the businessmen are the lowest of all. So, an ideal state would be that which is ruled by philosophers. The soldier obey the order of philosopher. As in an ideal man, the reason rules. Similarly, an ideal state, philosopher rule. As in ideal man, emotions are kept under control. So, in an ideal state, the treasurer, businessmen, etc., are kept under control by soldiers. Soldiers are the men of action, and they use their willpower to keep the businessmen under chain and prevent them going out of control. In his republic, we have the ruler, philosophers, and the soldier are there to carry out the order of philosophers. If we have this in Pakistan, then Pakistan is an ideal country since poetry appeals to the lowest aspects of man. Then its appeal is to emotion. To use the words of Plato, it feeds and nourishes the emotion and strengthens them. Passion become stronger than reason, and that leads to moral disharmony and degradation. Degradation. So what poetry is doing is good or bad. Plato says that stimulating the lowest part in man is not good. So poetry is morally harmful. Its implement is banned to be bad. It corrupts the society. It leads to the destruction of the character of man. So you can see that it was based. This argument was based on uh, moral. Okay, and to him, poetry is not good because it appealed to emotion and passion. The third argument against poetry is also on moral grounds. While reading poetry mostly by seeing a play, which is the highest kind of poetry, the audience identify themselves with one of the characters. They forget themselves and consider themselves to be someone else. This is very important. Try to understand. In Greek drama, one actor used to play many character parts. He used a mask for different role. Plato says that considering oneself and identifying and pretending to be many other people is very harmful to the healthy development of personality. It has a very bad influence on the audience and readers. The reader also identify themselves with the hero. They are influenced by his style of talking, dressing, and his mannerism. This takes them away from reality and bring them close to artificiality. Try to understand, this is very important point. For example, we watch a movie either in a cinema or on TV or on CD. While watching the film, we start identify ourselves with some characters. We feel sympathy for him, her. As a result, we dress in same manner, etc. So we become one else than ourselves. In watching one play, we imagine ourselves to be one man, but in other play, we become another man. So much so that our personality is lost. Try to understand the point. Get the point. According to Plato, this imitation is destructio. The same is true of poetry. It has also characters. Example given in epic, people are fascinated by the hero and want to be like him. So poetry is morally bad. It prevents the healthy development of the self. So this is the his third argument against poetry, which is very strong and seem to be true. So this is important. Okay. Then the last and the final argument. The fourth argument is an inductive one. He draws a general conclusion from particular facts. The Greek believed that poet is a teacher. Plato says, what do we find in the best of poets? Homer was considered the greatest teacher and poet, but what do we find in his poetry? We find good fighting, God fighting. They take sides. They show favor to some and vice versa. They do all sort of things which we consider wrong. The same is true of heroes. They are higher than us. We look up to them. They don't care for the nation concerned. They become angry and try to harm the people. The gods get involved in human affairs. The Greek regarded poet as teacher. As teacher, this is teacher, Aristophanes, the first literary critic says, this is the frog. The question was asked. This is in the frog. Frog is the name of a literary work. The question was asked, what was the function of poetry? The answer was that the function of poetry was to give good counsels, to impart wisdom, and to make people better son, father, husband, and better citizen. So poet is a teacher. This was traditional Greek view. Plato says that from Homer we expect good poetry. If this is the kind of teaching he gives, if this is the function of poetry, why find in Homer what must be the teaching of inferior poets? So if this is the function of poetry, then we had better get rid of poets because they are bad teachers. The teaching we find in poetry is morally wrong. Their practice is not conducive to hell, so he has no place for poetry and poet in his ideal republic. He feels sorry to expel poets from it because he had great love for Homer. He found great pleasure in reading him, but he says that truth and reason come first, and whatever his feeling should be secondary. So this is the important point. He says that he would not insult the poet, he would garland them, but he would not let them in his ideal republic because their word is twice removed from reality. So these were the views of Plato regarding poets and poetry, and he argues in a better way. Try to understand, read again and again, and At the end, I hope you will have understood the philosophy of Plato regarding poet and poetry.